Wow, so another tough week to follow. There's been a draft for the overturn of Roe versus Wade, the opinion that was issued 50 years ago, resulting in a lot of judicial review of laws that have been on the books of states. It's going to be interesting to see how this works out. Also, TurboTax. They just settled for $144 million for misleading customers with free filings. So if you filed using TurboTax between 2016 and 2018, you may be able to get some money back. So something worth looking into. The topics on this channel, they include life experience, life hacks, entrepreneurship, and wealth building. We've been talking a lot about cryptocurrencies and inflation and wealth building overall. I thought this week we'd do something a little different. And I wanted to talk about 7 considerations when starting a home-based business. The topics on this channel are near and dear to my heart, and I hope you find these videos useful or at least entertaining. So let's spark some interest and get some conversations going. Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notify button to be alerted as we create new content. With that said, let's get into it. So, have the past few years and the economy left you unsure of your livelihood? Have you been feeling more tuned out with the ruts in life? Do you want to open up more opportunities? And have you ever considered starting your own home-based business? I'm in the process of standing up a new business myself, and there's several considerations that have come to mind as I'm going through this. And some, of course, are simpler to solve than others. So in this video, I'll introduce you to 7 considerations and organize some thoughts around each. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video for a bonus. All right. So let's set the stage. We've been going through a period oftentimes referred to as the Great Resignation. According to Harvard Business Review, COVID-19 spurred on the Great Resignation of 2021, during which record numbers of employees voluntarily quit their jobs. What we are living through, though, is not just short-term turbulence provoked by the pandemic. It's the continuation of a trend of rising quit rates that began more than a decade ago. So obviously it's been going on longer than it's really caught our attention, but definitely people are reaching the point of being tired of the current paradigm. And we've got changes in the economy coming. There was an interesting video on impact theory, the channel by Tom Bilyeu, where he's having an interview with Ray Dalio. It was actually released last week. I'll put a link to it in the description. It is definitely worth a listen. It's a long video, but they talk about quite a few things. Of interest specifically, they're talking about hedging against inflation. So Ray Dalio, Tom Bilyeu, definitely worth a watch. Famous businesses that began in garages. Let's kind of run down a quick list. So we've got Apple, Microsoft, Dell, YouTube, Facebook, Yankee Candles, had no idea. Lotus Cars, Amazon. Can you imagine Jeff Bezos working diligently in his little garage? I find that just intriguing. Disney, also Maglite and Mattel. So, okay, there's some businesses that started in garages. So the first thing I would recommend to you is find your niche. Choose something that you enjoy, you're good at, and you have a sustainable interest in. This will help keep you engaged over time while you develop your skills. Also realize it'll probably take 10,000 hours. Hopefully these are hours you've already put in and have been doing something, maybe not running your own business, but again, it's a pursuit of interest, not necessarily passion. We'll touch on that in a second. And just remember, nothing comes for free. You've got to put energy into something to get an output. So don't let that deter you. Don't let that scare you away. By all means, get started today. Back to the passions idea. Don't follow your passions. One, they may not be marketable. right? It depends. And two, you may just create a toxic relationship, something that you were really passionate about and enjoyed doing, you may end up hating. So don't sacrifice something that you really love. Find something that you're good at. They don't necessarily have to be the same thing. Next, choose a business name. So choosing a business name is kind of a fun part. For instance, one of my businesses is named Convergent Technologies. Ideally, we bring organizations together, we bust them apart, hence Convergent Technologies. But anyway, my sister also runs a home-based business, and hers is named 342 Jewelry Design. There you go. She designs and makes her own jewelry. Boom. I believe vague names are best suited for like high level operating companies. So maybe you've got a few businesses that you start. Maybe one day I'll roll up my organizations into Rick Gregson Enterprises or something of that nature. So anyway, that's the idea, right? Keep the names tactical, and you can always put an operating company on top of that later if that's something you choose to do. Third thing, ensure name availability, right? That's kind of a big one. So you've come up with this really cool name to help indicate what your business is going to be, but it may not be available, right? Before you can legitimately form a LLC, you're going to have to file articles of organization within your state. Those articles have to identify your desired business name. So what you do is you check with the Secretary of State, you look at their website for taxable entities. Sometimes it's harder to find, but generally that's the type of phrasing you want, is taxable entities. And ensure that the business name you're looking to use is actually available. If it's not, consider a different name or maybe some variation thereof. Also, go to GoDaddy and check, see if the name is available, because what I'll tell you, whether or not it's available, and it'll also show you if maybe somebody else has it and maybe they want to sell it. I was recently looking up giving it all away, and I want to say it was, I don't know, $19,000, $12,000, some ridiculous amount of money that somebody wants for that .com. That's not going to be happening. I'm not paying somebody for that. But that's kind of the cool thing with domain names. You can buy them without even standing up a domain, and you can offer them for sale on the market and possibly turn a profit, right? Intellectual property, if you will. So, look up your domain name, make sure it's going to be available, or again, some variation thereof, something that you would like to see. I recommend, if you're serious about starting your business, go ahead and find the domain name that you're looking for, just to make sure you own it. It's not very expensive. And even if you don't use it, even if you don't stand up a website on it, at least you don't have to worry about somebody else stealing it in between the time that you file your articles of organization and, actually legitimately establish your business. So the other thing you can do with it, by the way, is you can hold it as real estate, right? I mean, one, you may want to build on it later. And two, if you end up scrubbing the business idea, heck, you can always put it up for sale and try and make a margin on it. Nothing wrong with that. Lastly, check the social media platforms to see if you're able to grab the name or some variation of the name that you're looking for, right? It would be awful to be trying to put something out and have to use different names on different platforms. That lack of consistency makes it really hard for people to figure out and follow you, right? So in this day of social media, I feel like it is a big thing. So, all right, call to action here. Are you guys finding this video informative? Please be sure to comment and let's get a conversation going. Fourth, filing articles of organization for an LLC. Okay, so this is a big day, right? You're excited. You've got your business idea. You've ensured your name is available. You've maybe started securing things like the website and stuff, maybe setting up some social media accounts. You're kind of excited that, okay, you're getting ready to actually start something here. So now it's time to file with the state. In order to do that, most filings require that you just simply fill out a form. It's really not deep. You could go through a service, you could go through an attorney, you could, but it's really not deep. So to me, it just seems like a waste of money. If money is not a factor on your home-based business, great. But if it is, just take a look at it. It's really not deep. Typically, you're required to provide an entity name, a registered agent, which is generally yourself, a governing authority. Like for a small business, you're probably not going to have any managers to list. You're just going to be the initial member of the LLC. So again, you're going to reference yourself. Purpose of the company, a lot of times, a lot of states have that filled out, some generic verbiage. That's usually fine. You're there to make money. That is the purpose of the company. A company mailing address, so that's usually going to be your home address. Effectiveness for filing, and what they mean by that is like the effective date, right? When did you want the LLC to be set up? Do you want it a month from now, or do you want it as soon as they get the paperwork? And then, of course, there's a signature section and a section for payment. Well, not a section, but you include your check. Filing fees vary state to state. You complete the form, you fill out a check, sign the form, sign the check, mail it as instructed. That's it. That gets you filed. So the fifth consideration would be maybe IRS and state considerations. Something to understand about a single member LLC is you're what's referred to as a disregarded entity. It's a business that, one, has a single owner, two, is not organized as a formal corporation, and three, you've not elected to be taxed as a separate entity for federal tax purposes. The owner of a disregarded entity reports the income on the owner's tax return. Okay, that's actually from the IRS. So the above statement just greatly simplifies your life. Your tax preparer will simply file Schedule C, which is a personal tax return, to account for your business's profits or loss. Any income will flow down into your return, and any accompanying documentation actually feeds your state returns. Given that, there's really no need to apply for a EIN, which is an employer identification number. It's kind of the same as a personal social security number. So for a single member LLC where you're the sole proprietor, you don't really need to go that route. If you grow and get into payroll services or payroll scenarios, you'll need to consider making an entity class selection, which would be Form 8832, which you could be different types of entities set up under that. And you would probably want to make the S election, which is Form 2553. What that does is that allows the monies earned by the business come into your tax return, and they're taxed at your personal tax rate, not anything crazy like a C Corp would pay. Something else to consider for your business is, are there any licenses or insurances required? These are some things that can easily get overlooked, unless you're running like a restaurant or a bar, something that requires like a liquor license or stuff. Obviously, those are always front and top of mind, but usually for a home-based business, I don't know too many people that run a bar out of their home, at least not officially. Anyway, so does your state, county, city require any licensure for your type of business? Something to look for. Also, are there any insurance requirements for the protection of your clients or business itself? As an example in this, Convergent Technologies, we carry a business owner's policy, and we also carry a policy for errors and omissions to ensure our clients have some coverage in the event we do something blatantly wrong and impact their business operations. My sister's jewelry making business. I'm not really aware of any particular insurances that she might carry. Another thing, as you grow a business, if you're going to have employees, then of course you're going to have workers' comp generally provided by a third-party insurer, and you're going to be dealing with SUI, which is the state unemployment insurance, among many other things with the state. So those payments are required by the state, and they're handled through payroll. So my recommendation here is start as simply as you can. Make sure that you've checked any boxes for licensure. and whether or not there's any particular insurance that you need. I would try and stay out of the water, at least starting out with workers' comp and having employees. It brings things up to a whole different level. And I think it's better to start the business small and learn and grow as you go. So that's my advice. Okay, the seventh consideration I've got is outside professional services. So starting out, assuming your business is simple, low risk, and requires no complicated licensures, it would be my recommendation that you have a solid tax preparer if you're not accustomed to working with tracking and categorizing expenses, as well as tracking sales revenue. Early conversations might be helpful to get a clear understanding of what information they'll expect in order to best prepare your return at tax time. As you develop, you'll want to build relationships with an attorney that you trust, as well as a CPA, certified public accountant, to help guide you with your decisions as your business grows. You don't want to learn by hard knocks if you can avoid it. Okay, folks, we have made it to the end of the video. So here is the bonus piece I mentioned up front. Build a mastermind group. Find some people that are like-minded, not necessarily in the same business you're in, but definitely of an entrepreneurial spirit or something in line with that. The people you'll find, some will be farther along, some will be a little behind, but all will bring a different perspective. And it's good to select people as you get to know them, and you'll figure out whose opinions are actually of value to you, and that helps. Having that group of confidants is just a fantastic way to accelerate your learning in business, as well as make better decisions as you go through. While overall, I'm not a fan of groupthink for many things, ultimately the decisions that you do make will be a little better thought out because you're getting so many different opinions. So yeah, kind of helps get a bigger, broader picture. Okay, and maybe even along that route, you'll find a mentor or two, and we can always use that. Also, maybe even along that route, you'll become a mentor for one or two people, and everybody could use a helping hand, especially getting started. Final thoughts here. Personally, I think that everyone should own their own business for a period of time at least and decide if they like it. If you keep it small and simple, it's not really a burden to operate. If you evolve and get into more complicated structure, well, that is when it becomes a pain, but it may be worth it. It's better to be in a position where you need to make that decision than never having known the circumstance at all, in my opinion. In its simplest form, though, as the sole proprietor of a disregarded tax entity, your goal is to generate additional taxable income. All of those numbers are handled under Schedule C of your personal tax return, so that definitely keeps everything simple and easy for a tax preparer to work with. If you elect to grow your business, you may outgrow Schedule C filings and be required to file a 1120 or some variation thereof. All sorts of fun interacting with federal and state levels when you get to that point. My recommendation is really follow the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, and determine if you want to take on more later. So we'd like to know, have you considered starting a business? Are you on a path? If so, write "in pursuit" in the comments below. Also, please be sure to connect with us here on Medium, LinkedIn, and Twitter as we grow the tribe. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.